नहीं है सर, हम लोग के लिए नहीं है सर, हम लोग के लिए नहीं है सर। एक क्लासेस तो नहीं चल रहा है, लेकिन सर फैकल्टी लोग का काम नहीं पड़ता। तो आपको तो पता काम ज्यादा ही रहता है इस सर। एनएपी को लेके, आईपीएलसी को लेके, अभी वही सैटरडे संडे जो छुट्टी रहता है। एक तरीके से वेकेशन वैसे इंटर्नशिप में चला जाते हैं। हाँ, बाकी तो अच्छा चलिए। हाँ सर, अमर जा सकते हैं। हाँ आएगी।
Good morning, Professor Singh, and good morning, Dr. Shashi Srivastava. Welcome to Viva University for Viva Voce of Mr. JoydeepMookerjee. With your permission, can we start the Viva?
Thank you, madam, for giving me the opportunities being an expert in this university. I came here for the next time, and whatever I see, a good arrangements for Bhagavasi examinations. Mr. JoydeepMookerjee, my first question is, why you have chosen this topic?
Sir, got a lot of motivation from this topic. Is this that roughly 10% of India's GDP comes from the retail sector. And out of the total retail sector, 92% is unorganized retail. Now, technology adoption is helping business to grow in terms of revenue, customer acquisition, profit, everything. Now, unorganized retail is one area which is significantly lacking. So the first point is, if we do academic research, if we do literature review, we will find there is a significant shortage or theory regarding unorganized retail. This is point number one. Point number two, so the UPM theory is the model on which I have done my research, sir. Now, UPM theory of Professor Venkatesh has been primarily focused on consumers. And while this time I have tried to add some more additional constructs so that the UPM theory can be checked on unorganized retail. And this is the unique contribution. This has never been done before. Whether UPM in unorganized retail, this type of research is the first one. That is my contribution to the academic research. And my passion is that such a huge, roughly out of 10% of India's GDP, 92%, we say quote unquote 9% of India's total economy, whole country's economy is unorganized. And that is roughly crores of rupees, which I will show you in the coming slides, and multi-million dollars, the industry, where I am focusing on now at this moment only on the whole capacity, where I have done as a scope of work. But of course, this can be done at other parts, but I have limited my scope to Calcutta, where I have tried to understand what are the factors, what are the motivators, what are the barriers, for the unorganized retail. COVID came, and then, a lot of unorganized businessmen have completely smashed. So we remember the lockdown days when we used to get goods to, big basket and brokers and others. But the kirana shops, the grocery shops, were completely shut down for months. They didn't have food to eat, and it was a disaster. So what happened to the post-pandemic? Whether the digital thing has really worked or it didn't do well, all that I have tried to cover in the research. That's my passion. Me, from an Indian perspective, as a proud Indian, and others.
This is the basic, you may say, this is the objective behind
Yes.
this. Due to which you have chosen this topic.
Yes, sir.
Your next topic, I think, that will be literature review. You have mentioned literature review already, the work have already been done. So what you add additional, whatever already done in the literature, what are your contribution in this business?
Yes. So, sir, I have added some new aspects to the existing literature,
Which have not been
done till then. Till as of now, we cannot find in research tools for any other portal. We cannot find. That is what I'm trying to say. For example, A, unorganized retail turnover, we have never seen any for. So that's one. Unorganized retail in UPMP is another area which we have not seen. That is another part. Coming to literature specifically, social influence is one construct. Social influence is one construct which the UPMP theory specifically tries to highlight. That people will say, use technology and you will be very happy, you will be better rich. I have tried to prove reverse. And I have an empirical data to prove that the retailers are price sensitive, cost sensitive. Retailers understand that perceived risk is more important than social influence. So these are the certain things which my contribution to academics that we need to probably tweak the UPM theory into a new theory going forward, wherein certain things have not been researched before and we do not have any literature support, but I have empirical data to support and substantiate the claims on this part, sir. So I think I can also cover yes,
Or mentioning these literature review, you have certainly forwarded some hypothesis
yes, sir.
that consists of the null hypothesis and geometric hypothesis. So what are these hypotheses and how you prove that hypothesis?
Yes, sir. So the hypothesis.
Mr. Jaideep, if you can show the slides of search, even.
Achha, so you want me to, if I can take you through?
That will
Okay, I'll just take you through. So, madam, good morning. I just get a chance to present. I'm a chartered accountant and a cost accountant. I have been guest lecturer for some of the universities, and I was also the top 10 CFOs in 2022. Next slide. Okay. So this is a basic agenda where we will cover some of these points in these slides as we go ahead. So technology adoption is the most crucial thing in any industry for that matter, and retail industry is of course very important from technology perspective. We have a lot of literature in the internet on organized retail. Coming to unorganized retail, the biggest hurdle itself is the technology adoption by the unorganized retailers, and that's why we are focusing on this project. Retail industry is estimated 40 lakh crores, and we have sufficient literature and given citation to cover that this 40 lakh crores is the turnover, and it is roughly 10% of India's industry, of which 90% is the unorganized sector, so roughly 9%. If we look at the CAGR, it's growing at the 11% per year. That's the growth, and it will become $2,500 billion industry by 2030. Now, such a massive industry which is having 40 lakh crores, of which is got 10% if you take out. That is the organized. So 90% would be 36 lakhs crores. That is where we are discussing. Such a huge thing we are talking about. Now, the problem statement is we have seen that technology improves in efficiency, technology helps in profits, in the revenue generation, and there is a wide difference in technology adoption across retail formats and retail categories. Why? Let us try to understand. And what are the issues faced by the unorganized retailers? What are the barriers? What are the motivators? Let's try to understand how we can address this part. So coming to the significance, as we have seen that approximately $952 billion already clocked in 2023. As we speak in 2025, we are past $1,000 billion in India. So this is the Indian figure, and we are expecting further growth by 2032. Another interesting part is total consumer goods sold in India, whether it's a big bazaar or pantaloons or organized sectors, but Kirana stores is 75% to 78% of all consumer goods sold in India, and Kirana stores, grocery stores, are part of one of the thesis for understanding. So here, my thesis is focusing on the challenges, the barriers, the obstacles faced by the unorganized retailers. Where is the problem? Why they cannot, implement technology? So having said so, I have done literature review of various types of articles, and these are all the important, relevant literature which I have gone through. And also, this particular slide also shows that I have done a study of that technology. We are discussing technology. Having said so, let us understand the pros and cons of various technology applicable to retail industry, and that also has been taken care of. Now let us get into the theories. Now in the theories, sir, we are of the retail technology. I have focused on number of models. The critical ones are mentioned here. It's the TAM, UPAUD, and UPAUD2. Now, based on that, what we have done is that Professor Davis has found this technology acceptance model where 4 key constructs that we all know about. UPAUD came from Professor Venkatesh, and these have another 4 constructs. And UPAUD2, when Professor Venkatesh brought in, he brought additional points like hedonic motivation, price value, and habit. So I found that UPAUD2 is the most applicable one. So I have done a complete pro and con of all the models. I have studied all the models before I came to a conclusion. The last sentence, the last row, is that UPAUD2 is the most appropriate model because it covers all the 8 accepted models. And having said so, this is gradually where we moved. Before we went into the conceptual framework, we studied all the models and tried to understand which is the best fit for this particular thesis. So when we went into the conceptual framework, we took the green color, the second column, the various constructs from that respective first column is a theory. So we took this. So from UPAUD2, this construct served as a primary foundation. While in case of the TAM, we use these 2 constructs, perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use, as the influencer for performance expectancy and effort expectancy. And we will see later how performance expectancy is the most critical factor after with the empirical study. We'll come to that later. Perceived risk theory also has 3 important constructs, and these also have a new additional construct. We will see that once we have done the empirical data analysis, we will see how not only cybersecurity, that is another contribution to the academic research. Your specific question, people thought that cybersecurity is the only concern. I have data, empirical data to prove that there are additional risks like financial risk and operational risk beyond cybersecurity, why people are focusing on, and cost sensitivity derived from behavioral economics, also reflecting financial constraints. If I have to buy a computer for getting additional business, what is the cost? What is the benefit? Why will I adopt technology is the question of the retailers. So based on these, how we have converged various theories into the conceptual network framework is what we understand. These are the critical research gaps. Technology user in retail sector completely ignored in the literature. UPAUD theory is primarily focused on consumers, customers, and big businesses. We have not seen UPAUD theory in unorganized retail sector and definitely not in India. So that is another new contribution. Of course, Kolkata, we have not seen any study for that matter. So in the eastern part of the country, we have not seen this type of study. And there is also no research done on the technology digital divide across various formats. For example, you have a kirana stores. You also have a electronics. Now, the electronics store, people who are operating televisions, mobile selling, they have a higher digital, adoption, technology adoption. We will see that later. Kirana stores comparatively was slightly behind, and so are the other apparel. So we come to that. So there is a digital divide across formats. Even with the overall retail, we have a difference between organized retail, which is 10% of the total retail business, and 92% of the total retail business is unorganized. There's a significant gap. That type of technology you can go in a big bazaar shop, you cannot find in a grocery store. That is a huge difference. So once we have identified the research gap on the left, what solution I am providing in my thesis? So my thesis has to come to a logical solution. What is the conclusion and what is the solution? So the lack of research in technology adoption has been the first empirical study on unorganized retailers in India. Limited application of UPFT since it's focused on consumer, I have focused on unorganized retail. Lack of cost variance. This is something where we have not found sufficient literature in the internet. This is also, I am challenging this as a strong predictor because cost sensitivity is more important. Why? Professor Venkatesh's theory has mentioned that no, it is social influence. My friends, my family will tell me adopt technology. No, cost sensitivity. People are saying, yeah, I can invest in a mobile or a mobile banking. Why do I put computer here for a bill printout? Computer is inventory. So cost sensitivity is more important than social influence is what I'm trying to contribute in the academics. The development of the model further and limited understanding of perceived risk in unorganized research. Existing research, if you go to the internet side, the Google Scholar, ResearchGate and others are focusing on security risk, ignoring business risk, ignoring operations risk, ignoring financial risk. There, my empirical data has found the data and with conviction I can say that financial and operational risks are over and above cyber security risk. That the research is there. Having said so, this is where it is expanding the model and saying that we can also look at these points also, not only what the existing model is saying. So having said so, we are coming to the research questions. What are the factors affecting? What are the challenges? What type of technology? What role of education will play? And what is the perception of the unorganized retailers? And then we came to the objectives that, well, if these are the questions, what would be the objectives of doing this research? Coming to the research methodology, the conceptual framework is this. This is primarily based on the UPUT model. But I want to hold on here that not only UPUT model, while designing this framework, we have also taken care of the CAM, perceived risk and cost sensitivity, as these are the additional constructs have also been factored into this particular construct which we have just said. So ultimately the dependent variable is benefits of adoption, while we have a lot of complex, independent variables for which of course I'll explain later why we have PLS system. We'll come to that, why it's a complex and independent variables we are coming. So this is the convergence into the conceptual framework and the brief definition. We have all these definitions in Professor Venkatesh's theory already available for many years. But these are the ones based on which the model has been prepared. And the independent variables are flowing from the constructs are flowing from Professor Venkatesh's theory. And we have, of course, given the necessary citations how these variables were found, from where did we arrive. And ultimately the dependent variable is also based on my literature review that, well, this is the dependent variable. Based on literature review and the citations are also given, we have understood that this is the one where we need to ultimately zero in on. Having said so, the scope of studies in Calcutta, the city's population, we have broken into various groups where, various substrata. So that's the various strata that we have covered. And here we have 6 categories of unorganized retailers on which we are focusing. We have already seen the category 1 is 75 to 78% of total consumer goods sold, FMCG goods sold in India is grocery alone. Additionally, we have taken 5 more categories to make it a diverse one and not a biased one. To avoid bias, we have done this part. Having said so, the summary of the research methodology is this. It's a quantitative research, a descriptive research design. We have sampling frame done properly. Sample size is 6 times. Click on the hypothesis. I'll come to that, sir. So 6 times stratified sampling and primary data. I'll just come to that. So the justification of stratified sampling is also I have provided that we have covered all the stratum and all the, so that there is no data bias. And we have used the data from the Sloven's formula. Number was 400, but we have done 698 to avoid any bias coming into it. So coming to the hypothesis, as you have mentioned, sir. So the hypothesis is primarily based on our UPUT model. So with that also each of the points have been done a proper literature review, and each of the hypotheses have come after a literature review, understanding the model, applicability in this research, and whether we can work on this in framing questions, collecting data, doing analysis, many more steps to go. We are only in the methodology, but before getting to the hypothesis, proper research have been done. Whether this time we are talking of performance expectancy, we also have perceived risk, which has become extremely critical, as I will show you. Effort expectancy is there, and social influence of technology is another point, which is not as important as it is shown in Venkatesh's theory. We have other more important ones that also will be proved by way of empirical data. And the facilitating condition is very important. And hedonic motivation is from the UPOT2 theory. And behavior intention and price value adoption are the other ones. Then habit and demographics is the one. This is the general one to understand how much a male, female, business, income, other areas, to understand these part of the thing. So these are the hypotheses which have been done. And after that, after once we have done the data collection, we went into our using the coding and cleaning. We used measurement of central tendency and understood the mean and standard deviation.
We have collected the primary data as well and secondary data.
No, sir. It is entirely on primary data only. I don't have any secondary data. 100% is primary data only. So we have done we have used the questionnaire and physically taken interviews and collected the data.
That is
The primary data we have done. We have not taken any. We don't have it. So this and the central tendency, the mean and standard deviation that we have done. Okay, the reliability test we have done using Cronbach alpha, and the PLS-SCM and others we have also done. So this is overall the design as we have gone through. So we have done the pilot study, data collection, results, and hypothesis. So all that we have showed together. We have also done the ethical integrity measures. We have taken consents and confidential data protection. So we have not shared any names of any person. And we have taken their permission before asking questions with them. So that also we have done. And we have not asked any questions which is related to the business privacy. So I'm asking question about their business, whether they are getting revenue, whether they're getting customers, they're getting cash. So I've taken care of that sensitivity part also. This ethics is very important, sir. So that also we have come. Now we get into data analysis. So in the data analysis, we have done a brief overview. I'll come to a little details later. So this is the age-wise, analysis of how the age is there. So 35 and above is the significant number. Coming to the gender is male 83, female 17. So the retailers are more on the street are more men than women. Education also. Okay, uneducated is 29, while primary school is 38. So more than 60% are extremely bad and badly educated, not good education. Coming to the income part, okay, so the 25,000 to 49,000 is 18%, while less than 25,000 is a staggering 62%. So these are very poor people who are selling goods on the footpath, on the streets. So we are talking about them. And coming to the data, as we have seen, grocery is really loaded in the entire data, India data that we have, RBI sites and all. So grocery clearance is 31%, while others are also properly covered and data collected. Then we are getting into the PLS-SCM constructs. Now, as we have a very complex model, it having multiple, independent variables. So we have used PLS-SCM to do this. So here we have, proper the item code and the item definition and how the questions have been used to cover the survey to my item to match with the respective constructs have been taken care of. So these are the slides. I will not get into so details. How we have each constructs and item descriptions have been taken care of. And here comes the slide that based on this, we have seen that although we have a very complex model, we have a multiple, independent variables and latent constructs. Having said so, we can show that how the survey items are properly measured with the respective constructs. So this is how the PLS-SCM has been done. So the measurement model here, shows, the reliability test, and we have started into the validation also. So the Cronbach alpha, it has been, more than 0.7, actually more than 8 in majority of the cases. So the strong level of reliability test has been done, while average variance extracted is also more than 5. So that also we have taken care of. So I have mentioned here the reliability test is more than 0.7, should be 0.8, and 0.7 is the theory. But we have done even far better than that. Strong reliability. Convergent also is typically exceeding 0.5. So this is also a strong confirming reliability and validity of the data. Coming to the variance inflation factors, we have to also focus on the multipolarity issues and other areas. So here also we have done an analysis properly, wherein we have seen that VIF is between 1 to 1.5. And the threshold limit being 5, it is way below the 5 level. So we do not have any multipolarity issues. So a proper study of the VIF has been done. And based on the analysis, we are confident that we are well below the 5 level. So this has been taken care of. Coming to the discriminant validity of Fresnel lacquer is also a very important test, wherein the diagonals are far more than the rows and columns. And therefore, it shows that the complete absence of discriminating validity issues is there. This has been properly demonstrated. And that's the reason I have highlighted the diagonals in blue, which are higher than respective rows and columns. So we have just discussed the interpretation of Fresnel lacquer, which we have just discussed the previous slide. Coming to the HTMP ratio analysis, that we have seen that we have got a good number, a good analysis from each of these constructs, and it shows that the values are fall below 0.90 threshold and is a unique and adds distinct value to the model. This supports the reliability of the factor. So the HTMP between that is below the threshold of 0.9, and therefore hence we have successfully conducted this test with proper testing of the discriminant validity. Now coming to the structural model of PLS-SEM, this has also been done. And the path model with the UT2 factors has been taken care of. So we have the mean, standard deviation, and the p value as well. So a little analysis on this is important for us to understand that the attitude is significantly impacting intention and effort expectancy and habit, while influencing the intention directly. On the contrary, here is the point which I said in the beginning. Perceived risk has become very important and is negatively impacting attitude. People are finding technology is very risky matter. Operational risk, financial risk, people are asking questions. So higher the feeling of risk, lower is the technology adoption, lower is the attitude. So it is inversely proportional in that point of view. So this is how the interpretation is coming up. So coming to the R square and Q square. So R square, we have seen the how we have been. So 43% is been shown as attitude, while the predictive values of 41% attitudes is very important to understand the R square and Q square. So overall, is the model is very effective in predicting attitude, and the path of model has a reasonable level of explanation of the variances of observed in attitude, benefits of adoption, etc. Now we are discussing Rogers theory. Professor has come the DOI theory. Now, DOI theory, we have these 4 or 5 categories. Okay, innovator, early adopter, early majority, late majority, and lagger. What is very important for us to understand that empirical data shows that laggards who will somehow stop, dedicated to stop any technology adoption is 66%, while late majority is 25%, who will say, okay, the technology is good, but let me stop as much time as possible, keep on postponing. So overall, late majority and laggards, if we look at, is more than 18%, that is close to nearly 90% of the total data. So therefore, those people who are stopping and preventing technology adoption in their business, whom we could, the Professor Rogers have mentioned DOI theory as laggards, 66%. Those who are really postponing, keep on postponing and procrastination is a significant number of 25%. So that's how the stages of technology adoption are about. Now questions asked about the various technology and how we have captured the data on various categories, the digital wallets, QR codes, the QR codes people use for ATM and others. Technology has increased sales, and increased footfall. So all this we have seen. So for example, one quick one, technology has increased sales. So people who have said No, is 98%. While technology has increased footfall, footfall is important for any retail business as 99%. So this is how, this is the type of feedback that we have got from the data. The data highlights the technical complexity as a significant barrier and the data security concerns have a low standard deviation overall. So this is how we are trying to see the descriptive statistics. That is part of it. Now, here again I want to highlight your attention, sir, is that here I want to show perceived risk as the highest of all figures for at 4.5 mean and 0.872, indicating it is a primary concern of respondent. So, while UTFT theory of Professor Venkatesh or the earlier theory of Professor Davis of Tan mentioned about social influence. People will say, my family will say, my friends will say, let's say implement technology. Why? For the retailers who are businessmen, retailers are businessmen, they feel cost consciousness, whether will I invest money or not. Secondly, even if I invest money, what is my risk? So again, the risk is beyond cyber security, which is my contribution to the model, that we have to expand the model and include financial risk, operational risk, and other types of risk, so that perceived risk is the most significant impact on the database. Use the most ones. Next. Okay, so we have also done the 2 key HSD, and the perceived use has been grouped, and statistically saying the values is greater than 0.5. Also, we have also used the price value. Here also, these are, if they are not statistically significant, and this also 0.5. We are coming to the implications. Now, the implications, first let us get into the institutional implications. Institutional implications, we need to have, whether the Vidhan Sabha or the Lok Sabha, they need to understand that we need to formulate proper policies to promote technology. We have seen the Professor Roger's theory vis-a-vis the technology adoption, and how much more than 85% of the retailers are saying no to technology. So we have to have something to promote, some subsidy scheme, some attractive scheme, so that people are willing to adopt technology going forward.
Whatever you have mentioned your objectives, and on the basis of the objective you have formulated the hypothesis.
Yes, sir.
That have been achieved.
Yes.
According to you.
Yes.
My question says, I think there is a difference between references and bibliography.
Yes, sir.
Is it difference or not?
Yes.
What is the difference?
The bibliography is pertaining to cases where where we have done a citation and consider that as a part of
The whole of the study materials where you have consulted, whether you have cited in your test or not, it doesn't matter, but you have consulted. That includes the bibliography.
yes.
And what is the difference? References. That is the particular material which have studied and cited in your test. That is the reference.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
So references is shorter than the bibliography. Bibliography is the bigger part,
Yes.
whereas references is the smaller part.
Yes.
You have read the materials and cited in your tests.
Yes.
That is the reference.
Yes. I agree.
What's the point? In your thesis, I see never the citation at all. Never written in any chapter the reference. Whether you have already cited the materials, I have seen in your citations. You have
I've cited it whenever I have mentioned data or whenever I mentioned any research publication.
and the citations of name of the authors and name of the experts who have been given, and you have cited in your text.
For example, this one.
Yeah.
That's a pan,
Yeah, okay. It means you have cited the materials from him, from this.
Yes.
But you should mention this one at the last of the chapter.
Every
That is every chapter.
Okay.
That is the reference. and reference should be mentioned with the mark.
Okay.
That is one.
One, two,
And
three.
1, 2, 3, that is the last of the chapters, this is the chapter 2.
Yes, sir.
And the last of the chapters,
Yeah,
suppose
that
that
is- that is-
at the last,
At the last.
whether it is the references. And whether it is one, suppose that it is 1,
Yes.
so you have put the relative 1.
And that
And
is
then-
second, yes.
That is mentioned there.
So that can be related.
That can be related.
Yes.
And again, suppose that here is the 2, suppose that it is the 2.
Yes.
So you mention here 2 and again mention here the 2.
Yes.
And that is the reference.
I
The reference here that is cited in your text. You have cited,
Yes.
but you have not mentioned as a reference.
Yes, at the end of the chapter.
Right? This is the main
Yes.
lecture in your research. The second part is, in the last you have mentioned the bibliography.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it fine?
Yes.
This bibliography is the overall study materials or the resource articles which have consulted, you have studied, but it need not to be mentioned in your test. आपने बहुत सारा किताब पढ़ा, बहुत सारे materials को देखा, लेकिन उसमें mention नहीं किया. That includes bibliography. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि bibliography आपने जितना भी दिया है, सारा का सारा इसमें mention. And this is the difference between references and
I, the good learning from me. I know. Totally your point. Yes, sir. Yes, it's a good learning. But my previous thing है, जितना भी
आपने
हमने
consult किया.
site किया यहाँ पे,
That is,
there in the video.
and apart from that,
वो मैंने नहीं किया. So I have taken only whatever I have cited and used. So that there will be.
suppose that you have given this bibliography.
Ah.
But when it is cited in the whole of the
Acha.
research work,
So one will
how can I find,
how that linking.
how can I link it with it?
So that will reference will have.
That's why
Yeah.
the reference will have in each and every chapter, so can it relate with the cited material.
ठीक है.
ये मैंने अपना फॉर्मेट में चेंज करा के वीडियो सब बता रहा है यही फॉर्मेट
Good learning. I will.
यही फॉर्मेट जो आप बता रहे हैं ये हम लोग फॉलो
University और UGC का जो ये guideline,
एंड नोट की तरह चैप्टर के
so that I can relate the years.
Yes.
Everything on the fingerprint.
जैसा नोट वो है चैप्टर के
Everything is right now in the finger, in your mobile, in your mobile. So if any study materials is mentioned here, suppose that they are mentioned cited already, and I want to see whether it is correct or not. The idea has been provided by the expert or not.
ठीक है.
Will open the mobile, come to the Google and cite this one,
Yes.
and I see, yes, it is correct.
Yes.
But we have not mentioned anywhere. Another point is that if you have not mentioned, that's also create a new problem. That is the again the same material which have already been researched that you have put there. जिसको आजकल हम लोगों का क्या कहते हैं जिसको सॉफ्टवेयर पर जानते हैं plagiarism. So you have not mentioned. So how the plagiarism can test? How much plagiarism percentage? 80%, 30%, 70%, or 10%? Just one. But if I want to test that one, how can we test? So this is the basic difference between references and the
I will keep this in mind.
bibliography and a both. Now you are going to become a doctor, and certainly you do the further research for the further students.
Yes.
You have the knowledge about this.
I
The
will-
one term is again mentioned in your, it is not mentioned in your test. It term that you see in your mobile. I did, what is this? I. Last में bibliography में लिखा होगा.
This also include, I think this also include, other items. Like we say, we mentioned at all, there are other,
Now you see.
yeah, it's a good learning, sir, yes,
Is
yes.
what you have mentioned as a topic and part of research problems, research objectives, research learning. What your contribution, what your research was beneficial for the society?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how this research was
Yes, sir.
benefit to the society?
Yes. My fault. तो ये इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ दिस अडॉप्शन करने के लिए हमें जो चाहिए वो है कुछ लेजिस्लेशन सपोर्ट, कुछ बैंकिंग सपोर्ट, कुछ प्रिंटिंग सपोर्ट, ताकि लोगों का मन में वो डर निकल जाए, that fear of perceived risk and all will go, and people will be happily implementing this. So this is the point which I last point I mentioned. Financial institutions and banks need to support the retailer. Otherwise, they people are saying that there are chances to any unnecessary printed graph check. You will get into a problem. So this is the other thing. Now coming to the theoretical implications, sir, it enhances the existing framework. I have an existing model. I have worked on that and I have expanded the existing model. A from consumer to retailer, that to anonymous retailer. B social influences to इतना बड़ा करके दिखाया Professor Venkatesh, where I am trying to do crystal important है cost sensitivity and perceived risk are even bigger factors than social influence. उसको इतना बड़ा नहीं दिखा है, because these are also important factors which should be expanded, and also numerous insights like for example the hypothesis of performance expectancy. Performance expectancy hypothesis number one in my case, which is the most important of all. मैं टेक्नोलॉजी अडॉप्ट क्यों करूं, मेरे को क्या फायदा, व्हाट इज द परफॉर्मेंस, देखा खड़ा होगा इंटरनेट चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, so that is what we need to understand, and from that perspective whether the performance expectancy is a significant item other than cost and cost sensitivity and perceived risk which is impacting business operations and behavioral intention. So this is the other part, theoretical implication. Sorry.
I'm a layman, sir. I don't know anything about more class. This session cannot be
Can you agree?
Yeah.
That's the
You're asking. But go on. I'm a layman, sir. I don't know anything about computer. Now, the session answers the existing theoretical framework.
Yes.
By defining the components of technology direction.
Yes.
In our sector.
Yes.
Oh,
I think you have not.
I'm not one. No, as a layman.
You have mixed out the earlier presentation.
Yes.
And that is the, I like to repeat, for referring to you, is that UPM theory, as we all know, is by, I understood this part, your question, is by Professor Venkatesh. Okay, now it is focused on consumers and large business. There are two parts, consumers and large business. So there is no research coming from research that A on retailers, B on unorganized retailers in India, which is almost 90% of the total retail industry in India. So we are looking at 36 lakh crore business. So here we are making a study where no research is there and UPM theory has not been linked to the retail business. So one time this is we have tried to understand how this model can be as applicable to the basis or not. We have done a conceptual framework, we have understood the methodology and did the analysis. Coming to the specific question, when we did the analysis, we came out with some surprising results. For example, the perceived risk theory is there, TAN is there, UPUP is there, and what we have understood is this, that there are several other factors beyond what is mentioned in the existing model. And the empirical data clearly proves that these are the factors which are also to be considered, and the existing model can be more expanded to accommodate these factors which are also being felt by the people who are the respondents to the questions. And therefore the empirical data clearly evidences that these are items which should also be seen. So my submission is this, that that, for example, मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूँ कि contribute to retailers is one angle. Secondly, the social influence which is mentioned so well. If we go to the literature review, we will see social influence is so well mentioned in the Venkatesh theory. Now, Venkatesh's theory is worldwide accepted. Very nice. But when we go to the retailers, kirana stock stores, grocery stores, for them, social influence not क्या होगा हमें नहीं पता. I am more interested is whether I am having the perceived risk. Technology adapt करेंगे, whether आप damage होगा, क्षति होगा, नहीं होगा. That is one part. Cost. Well, how much should I invest in a mobile or a mobile banking or a GPay or a Apple Pay or a computer for a printout of bill? So it is much more of a cost sensitivity perceived risk than social influence. This is one. Within the risk, also the existing theories, if we go to that, I come to each and every model that each and every paper of that, where it mentions of cybersecurity. Yes, cybersecurity is very important. We all know that and how it is affecting our daily life. But there are other issues which the retailers are facing. With this theory, this is about the retailer. And unorganized retailers feel there are risks like financial risk, there are risks like operational risk, which are over and above cybersecurity risk. Yes, cybersecurity is still there. But let us not forget these are also additional risks which should be expanded and included in the literature. Because cybersecurity does not necessarily mean operation, does not necessarily mean activity. Here, first I think on the empirical no? So, thank you, sir. So this is the theoretical implications. So as we go through, we have found there are no gender bias, and therefore we have done properly through it. Perceived risks and problems encountered with lower incomes, people who are less than 23,000 income per month, for them taking a risk of technology adoption, they are हाथ से लिख के bill दे देंगे instead of a computer. I don't know what attack, कहाँ से attack क्या होगा, who will do fraud, I don't know. So these are the fear that is coming. Coming to the practical solutions, we have to find the accessible and cost-effective solutions for the lower income people. At this moment, whatever retail solutions and software we have SAP, Oracle, and other high-end software in Big Brother's background and all. Spencer used SAP. I have been to their shops to understand the organized format also. Now, what about the lower income people? They cannot afford SAP, Oracle. They cannot do. They can carry cannot they do. So how they will find a creative solution with a cost-effective solution? This is one. Secondly, the study findings can be utilized by the marketing team, because if I am from Colgate or Maggi, I am trying to put Colgate and Maggi into the unorganized retail shops, then how can I ensure that my Colgate and Maggi gets sold to the ultimate retailer? So when I am doing a B2B, how will it impact the B2C? So for that matter, the marketing department needs to understand that the technology adoption rate, if it is improved, then the chance of selling a Colgate or a Maggi, whether Nestle or a HLL, will further improve and get a bigger share of the market, which is not happening, which is dealing only in cash. Another important one, there are several research which I want to highlight to you. There are several research which says everybody is after COVID, complete digital economy हो गया, everybody is doing digital payments and things. My research with the empirical data debunks this. No, people have gone into digital for some time after COVID and after the contagion was there. Of course, yes. But after that, people have come back to cash payments, cash receipts. And here, again, a significant part of the population have gone back to cash, while a smaller part of the population continues to use their Google Pay, GPay, Phone Pay, etc., or a credit card, debit card, etc. So, for some time after COVID, there was a digital acceptance and it went up because of lockdown. Other people were enjoying the new thing. But all these years, decades of paying cash and handling one, that is the study finding.
One thing which I generally keep missing. That is adoption of technology in unorganized sector. So technology is generally benefited for the unorganized sector. But one thing is more important, that is illiteracy.
Yes. Yes.
More important.
I'll
Adoption of technology,
Yeah.
which is the major drawback.
Yes.
What's your opinion in that?
Yes, sir. Sir, as from the data, empirical data, as we have seen, a significant part of the population are either illiterate or primary school literate.
They want to adopt technology, yes, but they are unable.
They are available. So the technology adoption is higher for graduates and above who understand, those who understand what is education about. But those who are illiterate, they don't know ABCD or those who are in primary school knowledge. And what they and they're running the business. They somehow able to write one sentence, but don't know much about education. Or then the fear of the unknown is there. In my thesis, sir, I have covered this, sir, and sir, I have mentioned that if we can improve the education level and increase the level of that awareness will be there, with education and the technology adoption will increase. So more people become literate, more illiteracy will go and this will improve. Secondly, the primary and school people drop out of class one drop out. And that's the problem. And they are running the business.
How can they adopt the technology?
So if we can improve that, give education to them, education is very important for us, sir. So if we can give education to them, for them, they will be further improving. For example, I am studying, I have not mentioned here, but I have not mentioned that this education part I mentioned, but another point which I am going to say is education and recommendation I mentioned in the thesis. Now, another part which I want to mention, because that is part of the ANOVA test, where I have done the education with the business, the income level, I have covered part of the statistic part, I have done that. Coming to another part, I am now saying separately, which is not part of the thesis, is that in the state of Kerala, 100% literacy is there, and significant amount of technology adoption is there. The same is applicable also to Tamil Nadu, although not 100%, but significant education is there in Tamil Nadu. Compared to that, West Bengal is way behind Tamil Nadu, even of Kerala. Kerala is a different league.
Yeah, there are so many states behind. So how can we adopt such technology if you want to?
Unless the education is there, people will be afraid to take that up. I agree with you that we have covered this part. Without mentioning Kerala and Tamil Nadu, I mentioned it here. Yes. So coming to the next part. So sir, there are research limitations. The research was done only in the city of Calcutta. Future science can be done with the
Yes. Sashina.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, ma'am. You have valuable comments, ma'am.
So first of all, thanks for inviting me as an expert, of course, through online. But it was the wonderful experience to listen to the very wonderful findings from Mukherjee, and also from the expert who has also did excellent job in asking so many questions relevant to the research methodology, and of course with the findings, of course with the contemporary scenario of the retail organizations. And yes, this must have ensured that all the standard of academic excellence is maintained in all the institutions of higher education. So for all that, I must congratulate the whole process and the authorities who have convened in such a wonderful manner this Viva Voce examination. From my side, I would just one or two important observation, not the queries. The first observation being that yes, we all presume that all the industries are going to be equally benefited by the adoption of technological advancements in all the industries. I want to know the intake of the take of the researcher. Do they feel that all the industries are going to be equally benefited? Because that is the premise on the basis of which we should start making effort that yes, everybody should adopt it, whether it is the cost, whether it is the risk, or it is a social influence. So yes, I would like to get the answer from the researcher.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words. Yes, madam. There are 6 different industries which we have considered, different formats. We have considered in electronics, we have considered apparel, we have considered footwear, we have considered grocery, we have considered pharmacy, medicine, and homeopathy and other shops. So we, and all the 6 formats, we have found something similar, is that the level of technology adoption is a concern. There are laggards, there are significant, people who are trying to avoid late adopters. So therefore, what is important, as Sir has rightly mentioned, is that yes, education has to improve. The level of income of the respondents, the unorganized retailers need to improve, and this will definitely improve and impact various industries under the sun. I have taken basic 6 industries where we have the food, medicines, clothing, footwear, and electronics and handicrafts. But there are other industries also where if education is given on time and proper education is given, we will definitely stand to benefit in all these industries. I agree with your question, madam. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for putting light into this important questions. The second thing is, I found in your research methodology part that the hypothesis number 11 is though mentioned in the findings and the analysis part, but nowhere the analysis and interpretation has been done with respect to a hypothesis number 11. Actually, I'm out of station, so not carrying your PhD thesis. But if you could shed some light on this, I'd be very grateful.
Ma'am, the thing is that, the initial construct, if you see, the conceptual framework is all about, how we have included the UPUT model that
Okay.
and taken some areas from TAN and perceived this theory. However,
Yes.
having said so, the hypothesis 10 up to 1 to 10 have been, framed and tested also based on questionnaires. We have done a research design and questions have been done. What have been added additionally is the demographics. Now, demographics is not part of the UPUT theory, but I have tried to understand what is the difference between male and female comparison, how much is the income level, what is the age groupings between the things. So the age level analysis, the business group wise analysis, the income groupings have been done properly by way of the ANOVA testing. At the same time, the male, female, and the gender bias has got there, but that testing has been successfully done with the t-test. So the particular hypothesis on the demographic is specifically not applicable here, but we have taken detailed analysis of the data. We have done a t-test and ANOVA test to understand the demographic profile. And
I got your point. Yes. So that's all from my side. I would like to hand over to the main person in the university.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
So.
Hello. May I leave the meeting now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being making me a part of this beautiful process. Thank you.
So ma'am, can we declare the scholar as awarded?
Definitely, after such a rigorous process of conducting this Viva Voce examination, I feel, and I'm sure the researcher has well defended his work and has answered all the questions that was raised by another expert, and of course, with another member. So yes, you can of course declare the Mukherjee as a Dr. Mukherjee. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for the blessing.
My
Thank you.
opinion also, Mr. JoydeepMookerjee is awarded as a PhD degree, and now he is known as Dr. JoydeepMookerjee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
PhD degree is conferred upon you. Many congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The